Hi everyone, new week, new projects. As promised, I'm going to start with a coat rack. First, what I'm going to do is to get this square. I'm just going to put it to the planer, get it nice and square. Then we start mount it to the lathe. I'm not a professional at lathe work. This is my old Talco lathe. Lovely old machine, but she's old. So I'm in no way any professional. So let's see how this turns out. Now square in both directions, and I just squared up on the miter saw the ends. So now it's basically marking the centers and mounting them on the lathe. To give you an idea of what the plan is or what I want to do is I'm turning with the big lady. I call her Big Bertha. It's a 1-inch gouge or spindle gouge. Make sure your stock is very tight in the lathe. There's no play, nothing. Test it first, switch it on, make sure there's no vibration, and then you start turning. I'm not a professional turner. I'm not good at turning at all. As you will see now in the next few minutes, I can help myself, but I'm very cautious of a lathe. I always make sure everything is as tight as possible. In other words, everything is locked to the maximum. I'm a little bit above the center because my gouge is big. So let's turn it. Anyway guys, she's now round. So in the end guys, the way it works out, I'm going to have a tenon and then a short spindle, tenon, short spindle, tenon, short spindle. So I'll actually get 3 pieces out of this. Let's mark them up and see how they work. So at the moment my spindle is an average of 32-33 millimeters all over. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the tenons down to about 20 millimeters, or 19 actually, because that's the size Forstner bit I've got, and I want it quite strong. And then we'll make some other shape, whatever we feel like, to the rest of it. As you might hear there, guys, we get some shudder because the stock is getting thin and it's got a bit of a vibration. So to compensate for that, I just lift my chisel up a bit, just get more of a carving action. So as you can see, this is the design I decided on for the short spindles. Let me show you how I've done that. Koenraad is busy with his very elaborate leg for this coat rack. Hi everyone, nice and cold here in the Free State, so excuse the torn jacket. Just quick in between project, I'm helping a guy, a friend of mine. I must make him I'm going to cut 4 circles out of a piece of wood. Then drill some 18mm holes in the centers, glue 2 together, and he's going to make for his grandchildren 2 swings. I just want to make it 2 on top of each other just to make it a bit stronger. And if there's a serious waste of wood, that will be now circle cutting. There's so much waste that the guy loses. I don't like cutting circles because you lose a lot. So anyhow, what I've done is I took my old antique marker and I've just marked my 150mm radius or 300mm diameter circles. I'm going to quickly cut them into smaller parts, and then I'll show you the circle cutting jig on my bandsaw. So guys, I just want to share my overcomplicated and over-designed circle cutting jig with you. As you can see, I made it from maple and mahogany, and it's very versatile. I'm being sarcastic. Sorry. No. Piece of plywood. I just cut a little strip that fits into the thingamajiggy on the top of the bandsaw, and then I cut a slot into it, and from the blade to the center of the dowel is the radius of your circle you want to cut. Not to the end of the dowel, to the center of the dowel. So what's going to happen, you'll see me do it now, is when I saw, I will actually put the blank onto the dowel. I drilled a little hole that fits into the dowel, and I will cut forward up to the halfway mark and stop there. Then I will spin the blank and cut the circle. If you stop before the center or after the center, you're not going to get such an accurate circle. Once I cut it, you'll understand. I've used the same piece of plywood for so many circles already. As you can see, I've had big circles, small circles. I just recut it every time because I'm too lazy to recut that. And this thing has been working for me for years now already. And I hate overcomplicating jigs. Usually, once they start looking like this, they go to the bin pile. Let me show you how it works. So there we are, guys. I've cut now 4 of these circles So now I'm going to glue them two on each other. Then I'm going to drill an 18mm hole, give it just a round over on both sides, and that's the job done. The customer can paint or varnish or whatever he wants. He can do it himself. It will be done just now. So because I'm not in the mood to wait for the glue to dry, I'm using the old super glue and wood glue trick, where the super glue will act as the clamp while the glue takes its time to dry. I'll just put a drop of super glue here and there just to act as a clamp while the glue dries on its time. Here I'm using the same jig, just clamped on one corner on the disc sander. And the reason why I clamp on one corner is so I can just press it with my hip against it, give it a good sand for when there's some unevenness and to get rid of the jagged edge of the bandsaw. Let me show you. That gives you then. So there we are, a quick side project done. I think they came out nice for a child swing. They're just going to put the 18mm rope through it with a knot on the bottom. Two little boys whose birthday is on Saturday. Just a quick favor for a friend. As you can see in the back, we continued with a coat rack. This is the two main pieces of the coat rack that I turned. And I suppose we'll continue tomorrow with this, as well as some sanding on the frame. The CNC work on the 20 boards is done. So most probably we'll first finish that tomorrow evening and then continue with these. Hi everyone. So it's me in the big picture frame again. Doing the sanding, a little bit of planing. Then we're going to stain and varnish it quickly. What I want to do first, for the guys that followed, on the end I've put a little closer to close the layers on the side and to add the third level in front. It's sticking out in some places. I'm just going to take it off with a plane quickly, get it smooth, then we'll start sanding. So it's plain, and then I just roughed it up with the 80 grit sandpaper. This is the back of the frame, so I'm not going to do such a fine finish on it. I just sanded it right around. Now I'm going to put some stain on and see how that matches the colors. turned it over, sanded the top up to a 220 grit, and then gave it a layer of mahogany stain just to get all the colors to the same shade of red. It looks very dull at the moment because there's no varnish on it. We will continue with this as soon as the stain is dried properly. In the meanwhile, I'm quickly going to take the 20 boards that our friend Henny has CNC'd the blood groove in for us. I'm going to start oiling them quickly. My regime for oiling these things is I use normal mineral oil, which is food safe, and I really drown it in the mineral oil to suck up as much as it can. After that, I make my own mix of beeswax and mineral oil, 1:7. I just then seal it with that after the mineral oil. So I'm going to start with that quickly, get them all in the mineral oil, and we'll take it from there. Something in between, guys, is I get so many customers every week there by me that either bought lathes or wants to buy lathes, and they don't have all the information of what they need when they go buy a lathe. For me personally, being a tool salesman for so many years, there's a few important things on a lathe you must look for when buying one. In my opinion, the thread on the headstock, 1" ATPI. Why? Because most of your chucks you get, Nova, Record, whatever chucks you get them standard with a 1" ATPI thread. Please try to get that. You can get inserts, but the moment you start playing with inserts, you lose accuracy. I personally don't like inserts at all. Then another thing is, of course, the Morse taper. I like my lathe to have a Morse taper on both sides like this one does. And this just helps for in case, like when you want to put a chuck on this side to do some inside drilling. So Morse taper, preferably Morse taper 2 on both sides. And then of course the most important part when you buy a lathe, something solid. Cast iron head, cast iron tailstock. That is for me very, very, very important. You need a lathe to be as solid as possible. There's a few companies in South Africa that sell lathes, and the people in South Africa would know what I'm talking about. That's really made from tin. It's a little tin box with a motor mounted in the bottom. 2 little pieces of square tubing. Those things are killers. They will injure you, I promise you. I had one big accident with one of them before. You can't turn something like what I've turned this week on one of those lathes. It will hurt you. So please guys, save an extra month or two and buy something solid. You don't have to go as big as this. You can go smaller, you can go with a midi lathe. They are quite affordable at the moment. And most of the time, the stock we turn is not very long. It's now and then that you'll turn something that's a full bed length long. So just a few tips guys, please, when you buy lathe, Morse taper 2 on both sides, 1" ATPI thread, and then if possible variable speed. Mine is now change the pulleys to get the different speeds, and then of course I've got outboard turning as well on mine. Very old lathe, you can get them quite cheap now and then. Just keep your eye on the internet and everywhere where people advertise them. Get something solid. So guys, a quick summary of what we've done this week. You've seen the rings Conrad has made for the coat hanger, coat rack. I've turned the 2 spindles. The one is going to go on top of the other. There's still some refinement work to be done. And there's another 200mm that's going to go on the end of this. I didn't record much of this because, as you know, I'm not a very good turner. I'm quite a cowboy when it comes to lathe work, as you have seen. Then I've also turned some spindles. Now they're going to come short like that. And they're going to end up in this piece. This is the second piece. And they're going to end up like that. This is the first set in the middle where you just hang your handbag or whatever, I don't know. On top there's another 2 sets of spindles, one for the coats and one for the hats. They're going to be a bit thicker than this. I still need 1 more of these. There needs to be 4 of them. And that will be done. The stock is cut for it. And then I started with the thicker spindles. That's going to go on top. Then on the back here, we are busy making for a lady in Bethlehem. We're making 2 picture frames. That's going to take 8 A4 size pictures of her grandchildren or children or whatever's. Just made out of pine. You'll see more of that next week, I hope. The 20 boards I've done. I've oiled them. I'm just going to leave them overnight now to soak the oil nice and properly, and then I'll give them the beeswax and oil mix. You'll see that as well. Then of course the main project is the big frame, which I've given 1 coat of mahogany stain and then 2 coats so far of varnish. I'm going to leave it again overnight, give it a final coat after I sanded it with a little bit of fine steel wool. I'm very happy with the color that I came out with. I think that's going to be quite a nice project. There in the corner there is lying another few pieces of glass that a customer brought us. She wants us to make 10 boxes that they use at weddings to put envelopes in. We make every now and then a bunch of them. She needs another 10 now. So hopefully if all goes well, you'll see that next week as well. So we've quite a lot to finish the week coming. But it's all small little jobs. Hopefully it will go fast and we can get to the other jobs. It was a nice week. I really enjoyed my lathe work. I haven't worked on the lathe in quite a while. And as you can see, or you could have seen, that I'm not very good at it. And I would like to get some more experience on my lathe. It was a busy week, but I didn't finish what I really wanted to finish. I wanted this out and I wanted the frame out. But the sanding and finishing on that took a bit longer than what I thought. So hopefully during the week coming, we'll get that done and out of the shop. Same with the little boards. I'm running out of space, so I need to finish some of the jobs just to make some space again for the new jobs coming in. Hopefully next week you'll see much more of a coat rack. And the tool that stood out this week is definitely my lathe. I enjoyed the lathe very much this week. It's an old lathe. It's not a very fancy variable speed lathe, but it does what I needed to do. And since it's not something I do very often, it's more than enough for what I do. So guys, that was this week. Hopefully next week you'll see some finished products. If all goes well, enjoy your week. See you next week.